Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz busted, hanging out with an illegal alien. They've been in the middle of this billion-dollar scandal, and it's getting worse for them every single day. You can see Homeland Security came down and said criminal illegal alien Abdul Dahir Ibrahim has been linked to Minnesota's top sanctuary politicians. In these pictures, Ibrahim can be seen with Tim Walz, Ilhan, and Omar Fatah. I think that was the fetal alcohol syndrome candidate right there. He was convicted in Canada for asylum and welfare fraud prior to his entry in the United States. On April 3rd, 2004, an immigration judge ordered him removed, citing the significant amount of fraud that was associated with him. You can see here he is with Tim Walz. Man, that's a close one too. Look at that proximity. Tim's like, get in here, Abdul, get in here, get close to me. Yeah. But here he is with this other candidate who just lost. He was running against Jacob Frey. Jacob Frey is also endorsing the Somali community. And here was a scene of the new candidate who just won, beat the fetal alcohol candidate, trying to stomach some Somalian food and having a difficult time doing it, almost puking it out of his mouth. I don't even know what they're eating here, but here's what this one looked like. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's good. No, it's really good. Let me just continue to chew it, and then I'll just take a big gulp of it. And let me just keep playing around with it. Let me see. Look at that face right there. Oh, that face. He's like, what is squirming around in my mouth right now? Fox News is reporting that this dude has been busted, and we actually got the full document pulled up over here. People screaming constantly. These people never get due process or their day in court. Give me a break. This guy, Abdul Ibrahim, had an appeal as well to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals on an appeal that came from his immigration proceedings. So he's had multiple levels of protection before they came down and found this. They wrote, Abdul is a citizen of Somalia. Petitions for review of a final order are now coming up, and we're reviewing them. And after all of our analysis, we deny his petition. Now, he came in at the age of 14. His family remained in Somalia. They sent him over. He said his father sent him here for education. Now, his asylum application was denied and been a back and forth for a long time. He ultimately traveled to California, filed an application for asylum there in 1998. Then in January 2001, INS served him with a notice to appear. They said, hey, what the heck? You're here and we've caught you for fraud. Now, this is also interesting. In his declaration, he said back in Somalia, people killed his brother. They attacked his sister, but then they caught him in fraud. Now, after that fraud came about, he conceded removability. He said, okay, yep, you caught me. He filed a new asylum application. He said, let me try again. He had a hearing in 2003. He brought 2 witnesses. They established his identity. He testified about his entry and about the death of everybody over there in Africa. Now, on cross-examination, Ibrahim admitted that the spouse and 5 children he listed in his application, look at this, the spouse and children were actually his sister and her children. So another brother-sister alleged spouse, just like Ilhan Omar. He also acknowledged that he admitted his Canadian conviction in that application as well, because he's a liar. Ibrahim initially testified to having no Minnesota's driver's license and no arrest in the United States. After more questioning, he admitted to an arrest in Minnesota in 2001 for driving with a suspended license, giving a false name to the cops. From this testimony, the immigration judge elicited an admission from him that he did in fact have a Minnesota driver's license under a fake name in 1999. He said that he had that license with him at the time of his arrest, but he didn't want to give it to the police. Instead, he gave him the name of a friend. He had not previously disclosed this arrest on any of his applications. Now, the immigration judge, noted that the current State Department country report for Somalia cited, yeah, it's a disaster over there. However, the country report showed stability in Somaliland, which is independent from Somalia. And so he can go back there. The judge found that he was removable and said, your application claim for asylum denied. You failed to prove any well-founded fear of persecution. You have a complete lack of credibility. The judge gave specific, cogent reasons for his negative credibility finding. Judge also noted that he had a chance to start fresh back in 1998, but he didn't. He made up a complete story, his own testimony and his birth certificate, all fraudulent. He was 26 years old when that occurred and old enough to know better. So he also says, well, the judge didn't give enough weight to my family, but the witnesses presented no evidence to even support his story of family persecution prosecution or anything like that. So it doesn't compel any finding based on no evidence. We also find that the lower judge's alternative holding to deny asylum was not an abuse of his discretion at all. An alien's history of submitting falsehoods to immigration and law enforcement officers is a valid consideration, and he's allowed to do that. And if you want to stay in our country because you're afraid of being removed, you need to establish that you're going to face prosecution. And he didn't do that. There was no well-founded fear of prosecution to prove his claim at all. He relied on the same evidence for all of his claims. He has no credibility and no evidence. So finally he says, my due process rights were violated, as they all say, when the judge refused to continue to allow him to procure a birth certificate and a statement from his uncle. He said, no, we already gave you an opportunity. There is no good cause for why you could not have obtained an official birth certificate at the time of the hearing. The judge expressed frustration that no documented statement was available and that you had been represented for years. So I'm not going to allow you, the judge said, to continue to jerk us around indefinitely. Uncle made statements and nobody was credible at all, made no mention of these events in any prior asylum applications. So then all of a sudden, okay, the applications come up, the next one. They say, oh, no, I forgot to mention, my whole family was under attack over there and my sister got attacked and my uncle got murdered. Can you prove any of that? No. So he completely lacked credibility, writes the Court of Appeals. We don't think that a document from the uncle attempting to bolster his most recent version of the events procured 6 years after the phone call would have altered that credibility finding at all anyways. We conclude that the judge did not err in denying his application or any request for continuance, and so we deny his petition for review and he loses again. So this is a pattern that happens repeatedly. And then when ICE comes and arrests this dude, they go pick him up from a Home Depot or wherever he's, hanging out. They just kidnapped a man off the streets. He had no due process at all. Yes, he did. He just came out of the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, for crying out loud. How much money and time and energy did we have to spend all through this appellate process? It's ridiculous. And he is hanging out with the top people in Minnesota, just palling around, hugging Tim Walz, as we realize that this was the biggest scam in maybe American history, from Stephen Miller walking us through what went down in Minnesota, in Little Somalia.
So far, we believe that the Somali fraud operation in Minnesota is the single greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare fraud in American history. We believe that we have only scratched the very top of the surface of how deep this goes. And you're familiar with all the scams, with pretending that children have autism who are not in fact autistic, with pretending to enroll people in food programs when in fact nobody was ever enrolled, and engaging in massive fraud, lying, and theft and grift on a scale we've never seen before in American history. The total bill, the total tab for this is going to be far beyond the numbers we've already seen reported. We believe the state government is fully complicit in this scheme, and we believe that what we are going to uncover is going to shock the American people.
There needs to be a complete and total review with a fine-tooth comb, a dragnet, scraping through all of these immigration applications until we can clamp down on this problem that seemingly takes hold and then takes over the government, such that the elected officials abandon their real American citizen constituents in favor of these foreign invaders. The federal government needs to come in and end it immediately. But now let's talk about humanoid robots and the new AI war that we are living in today. We can see some of what's happening by looking at this chart that shows historic silver prices. This 2025 surge is the sound of industrial warfare, and it's escalating. Silver is also reacting to the AI robotics drain. Every single advanced technology crucial to the US versus China supremacy race, from the fastest servers to the sensors in every humanoid robot, is built on silver. It's not just the best conductor, it's the irreplaceable catalyst for the future economy. We're sharing this today because the sponsor of this video is tied to the do-or-die race between China and the United States. They are sweeping the world, and they are Humanoid Global Holdings. We've all seen the videos of the robots, and they are getting better every day, meaning this new technology, in my opinion, could be the most transformative in the world's history. Shares of Humanoid Global Holdings, symbol RBOHF, are available through Interactive Brokers, Schwab, Fidelity, E-Trade, and others. And we're not just early, we're standing at the 0-mile marker on one of the most profound productivity shifts in human history that I think we're going to see. This technology is demonstrating breakthrough exponential progress progress. Think about robots making robots and how quickly this can go. The ultimate proof of the market's infancy lies in the current state of technology adoption, limited real-world deployment. As of late 2025, humanoid robots are primarily in the pilot testing phase within structured environments like automotive factories. And moving forward, humanoid robots are projected to account for a mere 0.2% of the total robot market scale. Humanoid robots are the quintessential early-stage investment, and to capitalize on this window of opportunity, our sponsor, Humanoid Global Holdings, is one of the only publicly traded companies that is a pure play focused on this sector. Each of us gets very few chances in life to be at the inception point of a transformative industry. Think the birth of the internet or the unveiling of the car. Humanoid Global Holdings is publicly committed to or closed indirect strategic investments in the following 5 companies, representing key parts of the emerging humanoid robotics ecosystem. Again, these startups are private, so there's no other way to gain exposure to them for the retail investor unless it is through Humanoid Global Holdings. The first one is Agility Robotics. They're the developer of the bipedal humanoid robot called Digit. Shareholders of Humanoid Global are also invested in Agility alongside Amazon Industrial Innovation Fund and NVIDIA. There's also Apptronic, the developer of a general-purpose humanoid robot called Apollo. Shareholders of Humanoid Global are invested in Apptronic alongside Google and Mercedes-Benz. We have RideScan. They developed an AI-powered safety and performance platform for autonomous robots. How2Robot is a global marketplace that connects businesses looking for automation with robotic solutions and their suppliers. There's also Formic, a company offering robotics as a service to small and mid-sized manufacturers. This focuses on the deployment and financial model that lowers the barrier to entry for automation. Shareholders of Humanoid Global are invested in Formic alongside Lux Capital and Mitsubishi HC Capital America. The level of commitment the People's Republic of China is dedicating to humanoid robotics is nothing short of an all-out, centrally planned, national strategic imperative, and from everything we've seen, they're going hard. China has set non-negotiable, short-term deadlines. In parallel, the United States is pursuing a more decentralized approach through private capital, venture funding, and large technology companies. This is where Humanoid Global Holdings comes in. They give the investor the access to the humanoid sector in its startup phase when companies are still private, the type of access that is virtually impossible for the average person and is reserved for well-connected angel investors, hedge funds, endowment funds, and big tech people to all get. That access, directly investing in private startups, makes Humanoid Global Holdings a standalone investment company, which is publicly traded and available to anyone, not just accredited investors or funds. Even ETFs, which will be available later on, will be mostly invested in publicly traded companies, not in startups. This is unique to Humanoid Global Holdings. And think about how early we are. Imagine robots working 20 hours a day, 350 days a year, unaffected by fatigue or illness. This offers up to 4 times the labor productivity of a human worker. Dominance in humanoid robotics means control over the next generation of automation for the defense industrial base. The core investment thesis behind humanoids rests on their ability to unlock massive, untapped productivity gains across every sector of the global economy. So do your homework on Humanoid Global Holdings, one of the only publicly traded humanoid companies out there this early, and we'll see you back here on the next one.